Welcome, Climate Viewers. This is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News at ClimateViewer.com. And I get a call from my brother yesterday. He's like, do you see the balloon thing? And he's on the other side of town. And I'm like, really? So I run out in my backyard. And of course, I got some pretty amazing shots, you know, for my cheap ass camera. But it's not every day that a Chinese spy balloon flies over your backyard. So I had to go run outside, and you guys are not going to believe the footage. I mean, just amazing shots. That's not it. Hold on. Why does my camera always want to do this to me? It wants to jump around. 1 second. Desktop. Let's pick a different one because you don't want to see that. That's not it. It's actually, is it this one? No, that's not it. Fails. Nope. This one. There we go. Oh, beautiful shot from my backyard of the Chinese spy balloon. Just kidding, of course. Of course I'm kidding. But I did get some shots of it. We're going to go into that in just a second. If you're new here, I don't normally just fail right off the beginning of the stream. It's just a new thing recently. If you're watching this on BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, or anywhere else on the internet, come over to at ClimateViewer on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Give it a thumbs up, like, comment, and all the regular shit. And if you like what you see, you can go to connect.climateviewer.com, support me. That'd be great. But other than that, you know, let's just get into this. So there's a big to do about this. I've gotten many phone calls. Hey, what do you think's going on with the balloon? Do you think it's a spy balloon? Do you think it's a, you know, test of like some kind of high altitude electromagnetic pulse delivery system? Could be. But what if it had something to do with weather control or geoengineering? More on that at the end of the video. I'll speculate at the end of the video. Let's just get through the details real quick. So clearly, you know, this Pepe is not what was going on. Most people don't understand, you know, exactly what a weather balloon is, you know, how high they actually are up in the air. So just for scale, I'm over on ClimateViewer 3D. These are cumulus clouds right here. And, you know, they're at about 2 kilometers, you know, about 656 feet, you know, that area. Plains and the troposphere, 12 kilometers. Nacreous clouds, 15 to 25 kilometers. The ozone layer is up at 15 to 35 kilometers. That's 9 to 22 miles for us Americans. The stratosphere, 50 kilometers, 31 miles. Weather balloons can go as high as anywhere between 18 to 53 kilometers or 11 to 33 miles. The Chinese balloon, was believed to be around 53,000 to somewhere around 60,000 feet. That give you an idea of whereabouts it was. And we'll go over to my photos over here next. So, you know, I'm in Sumter, South Carolina. And this was my vantage point from, you know, the passing of the Chinese spy balloon. Basically, it came over Florence, I would say, and at a height of 60,000 feet, plus it's over, you know, 100 miles away. Pretty damn sharp, you know, image for that far away. But we'll just flip through these real quick. So to give you a perspective, you don't really see anything here, but that's the dot that was clearly visible to everybody in my entire county. And that was the satellite, the balloon flying overhead. And you know, I got the call from my brother, and he's like, "Bro, dude, man, you got to get out there. Get a photo of it. You know, go look quick. You got that fancy camera." So I did that, and of course, you know, I went outside with my phone first, and just to give you a perspective here, this is what it looked like. So, you know, it just a little white dot. I mean, that's all you could see from Sumter, South Carolina, with your phone. Not going to get a lot out of that, but regardless, I got out my Canon P900, Coolpix P900. It's got an 83 times optical zoom, and that's a pretty sharp considering, there's a lot going on, and an 83 times optical zoom. Plus, I turned on the digital zoom to get even closer. You can still see the structure underneath it. This massive structure. And of course, all the instrumentation is right here in the center, and the solar panels are off to the side. I did an inversion on that too, just to give you some, a comparison. So you can actually see how large this is. We'll have some size comparisons, later on in the video, but this is by far the clearest image of it that I was able to find. Now, had the balloon flown directly over my house, then it would have only been 60,000 feet away. I could have pulled this shot off with the same camera. But of course, with the distance and everything, hey, at least I got to see the thing. You know what I'm saying? So I was pretty stoked about that. And here's another shot from somebody else. But these are just to give you an idea of what it looked like, what happened. We're going to go back over here. So, they got some video of it. If you want to see that, pretty much the same, not a whole lot going on there. Links in the details. You can jump on that. But what's interesting to me is the flight path of this thing. And this is why I want to talk about, they say it's a weather balloon. The Chinese apologized. Oh my God, we're so sorry that our weather balloon just happened to violate U.S. airspace. Didn't mean for that to happen. But it took a very interesting path, which is actually a very natural path because that is where the wind blows. And this is interesting because of China's massive weather modification and geoengineering programs. So if you realize that any kind of pollution, in addition to weather modification activities that occur in China, are going to follow this pattern, which is really interesting because what do we see all the time with these polar vortexes? We see the wind go up through Alaska and then dip down and then over this way. And that's what's creating these mega storms that everybody complains about. Is this being fueled by weather warfare? Is it intentional? And did the balloon follow that path to spy on nuclear secrets, ICBM sites, to spy on our spy sites? I got a map of that. Or was it actually tracking the weather modification that occurs? Because if you look at the actual flight path, and these are at public sightings right here with these stars. You can add me to the list down here. This is Columbia. I'm right next to it in Sumter. But this is definitely, the path that it took according to the site. There is no tracking on this. More on that in a second. But if you look at this, it flies right up over everybody's favorite fun place, HARP, Poker Flat Research Range, and Clear Air Force Base, along with many of our ICBM, our nuclear defense radars, missile defense radars. So if it's a spy satellite or a spy balloon, it was floating right along a path to get a good view of a whole lot of things. I'm going to show you on that. And you can see those here. So leaves China, floats along here. It's passing by Erickson Air Station, Shemaya Island, Alaska. There's one of our, here, I'll blow that up so you guys can see that a little better, huh? One of our missile defense radars right there. Over here, Amchatka. And there's another receiver there. Our Super Darns at King Salmon and Kodiak. The Clear Air Force BMUs. Why are these not loading? Because there's multiple things there. In fact, let's put this on the satellite view. If you scroll down here to the BMUs, it's right there. So, you know, it's flying directly over Clear Air Force Station, and the pave pause system that's there as well. These are our missile defense radars that have been in service for a very long time, but they're still pretty important. Poker Flat, rocket range, and of course HARP. So that was the path that it took. Oh wait, but what is this? The Alaskan Mission Operations Center, AMOC, which is an NSA facility at Elmendorf Air Force Base. So passing by some sensitive stuff already as it enters Alaskan airspace. Just a reminder that that's the path right there. And right here is where you see a whole lot of stuff that they could get some pretty good dirt on from pretty low to the ground. Not from space, but, you know, with a balloon. As it's passing down through Canada, it's going to fly right over Prince George Superdarn. It's going to pass by a CFS Masset, which is a Canadian Force Station Masset. Actually, not too closely to that. But then when we get down here is where you really see the meat and potatoes. Passes pretty darn close to Buckley Air Force Base, Aurora, Colorado, which is, you know, the aerospace data facility in Colorado. Very important NSA and National Reconnaissance Office spot. Another one of our missile, the Parks radar up in Cavalier Air Force Station. And then as it's coming down, again, just for a reminder, we're coming down this way. You can see that it passes directly overhead of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which is in charge of like all of the NSA's mapping stuff. You can actually zoom into the ground if you want to actually look at these places just by clicking the thing. But yeah, a pretty important station. And if they have, because I come from the, you know, the hacker world, there were always these jokes about people putting like Wi-Fi stations, like basically fake cell phone towers on drones. And the idea was that you could get a drone or something close enough to a building that you could then intercept network transmissions and all of that. So is it the case that some of the instrumentation, and we'll know this later on because it was shot down and they're going to collect it, was it spying, you know, on electromagnetic signals, picking up things? Was it war driving in the sky? Look up the word war driving. You'll know what all about what I'm talking about after that. Anyway, so let's unclick that junk right there and zoom back out real quick. So now we're moving on down. So that was the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Then it flies directly over the multi-program research facility known as Building 5300 in a facility at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Right there. Yep. So that's a thing, that another pretty important NSA site that it decided to visit, just blowing along the wind. I don't know, just pure coincidence. Again, looking at the direction here, flying straight on down. What else did fly by? We did Tennessee, and then right here, pretty close to the Georgia Cryptographic Center, which is the NSA Georgia, codename Sweet T. You know, obviously, I'm here in Sumter, South Carolina. It flew right around here through Florence, and then was shot down over off the coast of South Carolina by an F-22 Raptor with an AIM 9X Sidewinder. Some beautiful shots of that. In fact, this is the most American This is the most American gosh darn video you could possibly watch when your drunk buddy gets a video shooting down the Chinese balloon. And you see the first stage of the rocket, then you see the separation of the rocket, and then it goes into hyper mode and kerboom. Down comes Chinese, and you see the rocket body falling away, and the balloon is now poofed. It's falling away rather quickly. America, frick yeah! Coming to shoot your freaking weather balloon down. And of course, none of this was tracked on any of the major tracking websites that I use. I showed in the video earlier, ADSB exchange. I use this site almost exclusively. I was hunting all over it, hoping that they could get a track on it, because they not only rely on ADSB, which is transmissions from planes, but they also, use civilian spotters. So I was hoping to catch it, live. And when I took the photos outside, I came immediately inside. Nothing on any of the flight maps. There was no actual tracking this. This was totally an eyeball kind of thing. But that was your balloon bursting, China. Now, a lot of people are going, also, you're curious, why didn't they shoot it down earlier? Why did they allow it to travel all the way across the United States? Well, I think the real answer just is simply, if you want to know for sure what the hell that was. A lot of people are going, oh, it's because it was so big. Oh, it might land on somebody's house. Sidewinder's a heat-seeking missile. Explain reasoning. I'm explaining the reasoning because this is directly from the the United States Naval Intelligence News said specifically, and you can take their word for it. We'll go to that right here. That a trio of Navy warship service divers and FBI are on the hunt for the wreckage of the high-altitude Chinese spy balloon. They're not calling it. The United States Navy is certainly not pulling any punches. They're saying the spy balloon was shot down on Saturday by an Air Force F-22 Raptor off the coast of South Carolina. The balloon, which was being used by the PRC in an attempt to surveil strategic sites in the continental United States, was brought down above U.S. territorial waters. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said in Saturday's statement. On Wednesday, President Joe Biden gave authorization to take... See, now on Wednesday, he gave authorization to take it down. So this is why everybody's going, well, why didn't they shoot it down earlier? Because you can't recover the damn thing and figure out exactly what was going on inside of it and pull it apart in a lab if it crashes into the ground into a million pieces. You want it to land in water. So that's the most likely reason that it was allowed to continue to float. But Biden authorized to take down the surveillance balloon on Wednesday as soon as the mission could be accomplished without undue risk to American lives under the balloon's path. The risk to American lives, that's not why they waited so long. They waited to shoot it down over the ocean so they could collect it, period. And right now, 3 Navy warships are out there, and the FBI and service divers are all trying to collect this thing. That's what's going on. That's why it was shot down over the ocean, period. End of story. And according to this, the Raptor from the 149th Fighter Squadron based in Langley Air Force Base used a single AIM-9X Sidewinder fired from 58,000 feet in the air to shoot down the balloon that was operating at 62,000 feet, a senior military official told reporters on Saturday afternoon. The remains of the surveillance balloon, about the size of 3 school buses, is spread over a 7-mile debris field in shallow water in the Atlantic, a senior official told us. So for those that, don't live off the South Carolina coast, you can literally walk you could on your tippy toes pretty much walk about a half mile out into the Atlantic Ocean. It's that shallow, and it stays shallow for 100 miles off the coast. And by shallow, I mean compared to the regular, the depths of the ocean, it's relatively shallow. So they're going to have no problem picking this up, picking it apart, and then determining for themselves whether that'll be shared with us or not. I don't know. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And as they stated in here, the balloon, which was used by the PRC in an attempt to surveil strategic sites, I think we covered that pretty good. Now, I want you guys to know this from the bottom of my heart. Not a shill, not paid by the government. I have NSA spy facilities on this map. I've got I could add in other things like all the extreme low frequency ELF, VLF transmission sites. I didn't go through all those because I don't want to make this video extremely long. But yeah, it went over a lot of stuff. Hell, we could add in Department of Homeland Security fusion centers. There's a lot of stuff that I've included in here. But one thing that I used to have a map and I decided to take it down was where all the intercontinental ballistic missiles are. Because at the end of the day, I was mapping out all the ICBM sites. So, look at all the Department of Homeland Security fusion centers, which are tied into the NSA facilities that were along this path. So, yeah, it was definitely surveilling strategic sites as it passed through Montana, South Dakota, Iowa, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina. It passed over a lot of stuff. They probably got a lot of good information. The reason why I took down the ICBM map is because it's probably just not good for me to be mapping out every individual nuclear site and making that publicly available because A, idiots, because B, terrorists. And I'm sure, that the people at those ICBM sites will have a field day, popping 223s into or 556 millimeters into idiots that want to see them aliens or, go try to steal some nuclear material. But nonetheless, it got kind of, when I was actually doing Russian intercontinental ballistic missile silos, it got to a point where because the former Soviet Union had collapsed, that a lot of the information I was getting, that they were no longer actual viable missile silos. And there was just so much conjecture, and I didn't feel that it was very accurate. And, there's little to no information because I don't speak Mandarin and I can't translate Chinese, to make it a fair and balanced map of worldwide ICBM silos. So I took that map and I put it in a zip file, put a password on it, and hid it away on a hard drive. But maybe we'll revisit that sometime in the future. I don't know. But that's one of the big concerns that they have with this balloon flying over. And I'm going to jump to another concern, back to what I originally stated. Is this, part, it could be both. It could be spy satellite that was surveilling all these sites and a weather balloon collecting atmospheric data as it passed along, because weather warfare is a thing. And it's interesting to note that there's another balloon. There's more than one of these boogers out there right now. Another Chinese spy balloon is spotted. Mysterious surveillance device floated over Costa Rica before reaching Venezuela. The Pentagon confirms amid a frenzy of airborne. I love a good, screw up on text. Airborne spyware. Airborne spyware. Oh God. In the air over airborne spyware in the air over the Daily Mail. Bruh. Just, bruh. Anyway, we'll move along. So you got this here. Infographic shows the suspected path of the 2 Chinese spy balloons spotted hovering over. Now, we talked about the weather issue. So whenever they're trying to do weather warfare from China, they want to know where it's going to go, right? And you can clearly see one of 2 paths right here, but they both kind of follow the same kind of curvature. And that's because of the way the winds blow. Just the way the winds blow. They don't blow the same way every day. The butterfly effect included. But if you're going to do weather modification in China and you want to hurt America, you might want to know how to do that and where it's going to end up. So I don't think this is a coincidence at all. And you're gonna see why. After I'm going to go through this slideshow just for the hell of it. Picture, whoopee-doo. Chinese high altitude surveillance balloon, large balloon filled with helium, powered by solar panels, surveillance equipment, including cameras, sensors, and radars in the middle. And then let me go to the other one that's actually worth looking at. We went over height, about, where things are at the very beginning of the video when I showed you this map. And you can get a good, idea of height and all of that by looking at it. But regardless, this is where is it at? Come on, there's one in here that's actually worth looking at. And this is the NOAA's high split model. High split is a supercomputer that predicts where wind blows. I previously used high split. There was a nuclear leak, and I was warning people in advance, and you can go back in my videos and see this, where that nuclear plume was going to go. And I actually ran the high split model 7 different ways to get projected wind patterns. And of course, even with the best computers on the planet, you don't know where the wind's going to blow. So that's interesting. But anyway, this is the infographic that really gives you a size comparison. It literally is 120 feet by 120 feet. So if you look at my photo here, you can see that's 120 feet across and 120 feet down. And then the mast beneath it with the solar panels and the sensor array, there's another 120 feet right there dangling from it. This is a massive freaking balloon. And this is the person, this little guy right here. Okay. So pretty damn big balloon. You could carry a lot of equipment on something that large. And I think they said the capacity, like weight capacity on this thing, but I'm not even seeing that now. Anyway, the rest of this, people complaining, talking about Taiwan. I could care less about all that. So let's just get to the nuts and butts of this. Is this about spying and weather control? Is it about geoengineering and weather warfare? I think so. And there is the possibility, my father-in-law brought this up, of, the just testing the fact that, hey, they could have put a small nuclear device on that balloon, and had they detonated that device, it would take out all of the power grid, all the internet, all of the water, all of the nuclear reactors underneath. We would have several Fukushimas. The fact that, they just let this balloon float on by is a serious national security concern. It should have been dealt with immediately. Fuck picking up the parts to go find out exactly what was going on. If an EMP weapon were to be aboard a balloon and then floated across America, it could do unimaginable damage to this country. So violating our airspace in that way, big problem. Intelligence side, big problem. Weather modification, weather warfare side, also big problem. And we'll see that right here. And I'll drop this one in chat for you guys, because some of y'all might have missed this. I wrote this back in 2019. I'm sure that in the last 4 years, this has advanced quite a bit. But thousands of cloud seeding generators covering all of Tibet. And if you don't know what a cloud seeding generator is, they look like this. This is actually the Chinese cloud seeding generators. They're covering the entire Himalayas with it. And they work kind of like this. You got the monsoon, you got the air blowing it up into the sky. The seeding chambers put, silver iodide, cloud seeding particles into it. That makes rain. The rain makes snow. It's called snowpack augmentation. This is the size of the area that they're covering in hundreds of thousands of cloud seeding generators. And when I asked James Roger Fleming, the preeminent historian on weather modification, hey, would this be, if you did this much cloud seeding, would it be considered geoengineering? His response to me on December 4th, 2018 via Twitter was, yes, massive chemical cloud seeding of this type and the type proposed in the 1950s by Irving Langmuir are of the scale to be considered climate intervention or climate engineering, aka geoengineering. So China is geoengineering. It's, when it does it, it's going to take the path that this balloon took. This is from the ETC group. This year, we've been tracking a few high-profile geoengineering experiments in Arizona, Alaska, California, and Chile. Another massive project recently came to light on the Tibetan Plateau. New research exposes what might be the largest geoengineering project to date, a weather modification project in the Himalayas, which is also a part of an alarming pattern of dispossession of indigenous inhabitants. While a weather modification project at this scale is alarming enough, the infrastructure could easily transfer over to stratospheric aerosol injection. That is from the ETC group, from their newsletter. So everybody's in agreement that China's weather modification projects are on a scale that is geoengineering. And you can see all that here, all the references. China and Russia are working together on ionospheric heating experiment, moving along. At the Sura heating facility, China's building their own ionospheric heater. It's going to be the most powerful one in the world. Should make HARP look like a little baby. So move over HARP. China's got a big cooker on the way. But this is what I want to point out. China's Tianyi project, translation, Sky River, will divert atmospheric rivers using undisclosed technologies. And basically, they're talking about taking all of this rainfall that they're making in the Tibetan Plateau and then transferring it to another location. So doing, Tianyi 1 is a satellite installed with a microwave hygrometer, precipitation measuring radar, and cloud water detection to create a three-dimensional information on water resources over the area. Because they want to basically try China's drought busting plan to make rain, artificial rain on the Tibetan Plateau, and then somehow move that rain up here to the Yellow River Basin. Now, when you're doing weather modification on a scale like China's attempting, and you can see all of their slides right here. Again, I don't read Chinese. I don't read Mandarin. But regardless, I got English translations of that. And then, even some, this is a great video on the thing. And then of course, China's got an ELF transmitter. But the point I'm trying to make here is very simple. China is literally trying to make the largest weather modification system in the world so that they can hog up all the water that is going to land on the Tibetan plateau. They're diverting the rivers. They are damming up the rivers so that they do, like the Brahmaputra doesn't flow into India. In fact, there was an armed confrontation at the Indian-China border over one of these dams, in which the Chinese government used directed energy weapons to literally burn Indian military officials. I have a video and information on that on ClimateViewer, at ClimateViewer on YouTube. You can look that up. But this is straight up water wars, and it's getting dirty. And now we have a weather balloon, we'll put that in quotes, a weather balloon that's following the path of the downwind effects of their massive weather modification and geoengineering programs. I think this is the untold story that you're not hearing anywhere else. And people need to know about how China is messing with the weather. And it is no coincidence that a weather balloon, 2 weather balloons, have now floated across the Pacific Ocean, tracking the downwind effects of the nasty butterfly effects of their geoengineering programs. I hope that this has brought a little bit more context and information to this Chinese spy balloon, hashtag Chinese spy balloon. And all this was brought about because, I didn't really give a damn till my brother called me up, and he's like, and this was yesterday, he called me, I was like, you gotta run outside, bro. Go get your camera and try to take a picture of them Chinese balloons, man. And of course, the battery was dead on it, and I had to go charge it up. And then I ran outside and I managed to pull off a pretty grainy, but hey, I'm proud of my photo. Okay. I like my photo. I mean, it takes great pictures of moon craters, but when you're talking about during the day and something so far away, so small, still, the fact that you could see anything other than a white circle's a freaking miracle. So I love my little Nikon Coolpix P900. Many of you probably have one of these, especially if you're a chemtrail watcher like myself. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I think that, yes, it was a spy balloon. Yes, it was about testing our response to a foreign spy / possibly EMP doom weapon / just weather balloon floating through America. What would they do? Well, we did nothing. And then we collected it after we shot it down in the ocean. And that ought to be a concern for everybody. I don't think we have good leadership. I don't think that this was handled properly. I think it should have been shot down long before it entered American airspace. Let's say west of Alaska would have been a good place to shoot it down. The fact that it even made it over Alaska, it saddens me. It disgusts me with the leadership, and the buck stops with President Joseph R. Brandon. President Biden, you suck at your job. The people around you suck at informing you, and you should have shot that crap down before it ever made it over Alaska. End of story. And that's how you show strength to bullies who are clearly our enemy. And if you don't think that China is our enemy, you really are freaking clueless. Your head's in the sand. So there is my opinion on the Chinese balloon debacle. And I'm sure this won't be the last time we see something like this, because as they say in prison, you give in to them one time, it only gets worse. So to President Brando, get your feces consolidated. To the military Joint Chiefs and all you other morons that allowed this to happen, you should all be fired. And to everybody else, if you're able to shoot down a balloon the next time this happens, just take it into your own hands for national defense purposes. And don't tell them I told you to do that. So with information comes power. With power comes great responsibility. Please use this information to attack ideas, not people. Maybe balloons. Love you, mean it. If the video resonates with you, leave me a comment because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Yeah! Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.